So we're now pulling the gearbox oil out of the gearbox, and this is quite concerning how black this is, given I just put this in last night. I previously had this axle out, however on the other side here we still have the axle all connected, so I'm going to take that out as well. Okay, so I went ahead and got both axles and the intermediate shaft out. I've also disconnected the shifter linkage from up there and also dropped that, so now we got a pretty clean shot at just loosening up the mounts and then tilting it down so we can pull it out. Okay, so we have the transmission dropped a little bit. I'm pretty sure that's all the bolts out. Now I'm going to try and pry it apart. So there it is, guys, the box is out. It took me a long time of just wiggling it around and then eventually just fell out and fell on the floor. As you can see in here, I think that's a aftermarket clutch. So I mean the clutch was good on it when I pulled it out of the donor, but I can't see anything at the moment that's too out of the ordinary to make me think why it wasn't working. So I would have the cable clutch hooked up and it would pull up on it, and this tension, which is coming straight from the spring, is exactly what I felt when the transmission was inside the car. So it tells me that maybe it's not pushing against the clutch teeth here. Yeah, so I honestly don't know what to do. So it's been a few days since I've taken this gearbox out, and yesterday I went to a gearbox shop and I basically told them how I put my clutch in and my clutch isn't engaging, and they said basically that I had it all wrong and I need to basically get it up here, and all the throw-up bearing needs to go is about that much, which makes honestly a lot of sense, and I felt absolutely stupid telling him. So the moral of the story is I pulled this gearbox out for really no reason. I just stupidly had it adjusted wrong in the car. But anyway, now that the gearbox is out, you can see this is our XD aftermarket clutch. And what I'm going to do is, I've never ever done anything like this, so I kind of want to just take this clutch off for the sake of it, and also to see what kind of flywheel it is, whether it's an aftermarket flywheel as well. I think what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to end up buying an aftermarket flywheel while I'm at it and just leave the stock clutch. That can really improve the driving characteristics of the car and the engine, just because of how much faster it'll rev up. So yeah, I'm pretty keen to do that. Anyway, let's get this clutch off. So the flywheel and clutch is out, and this is indeed a stock flywheel. So this weighs, I think, around 8 kgs, and the flywheel that I'm looking at buying is around 4 kgs. So it should make a pretty big difference and be very noticeable when you drive it. So yeah, I'll order that now. And over here is the clutch, and as you can see, there's a lot of life left in it. Like I said before, when I pulled this clutch out of my donor, it was in very good condition as well. This seal here. So the next job is to go ahead and order that flywheel. I think it's around 600 bucks or so. It is a decent amount of money, but I think for the amount of benefit I'm going to get from swapping it out, I think it's going to be worth it for sure. So yeah. I'm also going to order a short shifter. So while this transmission is out, you can see I pulled the shifter out with it. I think it's worthwhile me swapping this out while it's all out, as it's real easy to do. Just pop it out and then pop the new one in. But yeah, I'll order that too. So I just went up and ordered that short shifter and light and flywheel. And I've come back down and now I'm starting to work on the interior. As you can see, I've got this dash in, and the plan by the end of today is to basically have majority of the interior back together. See, we've got our fresh air conditioning control unit in, and that looks super good. So here's the current state of my interior, and I have decided that I'm now going to work on relocating my battery to the boot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the power from the starter motor all the way through in a big heavy gauge wire, and I'm going to run it underneath the carpet all the way up here, back through this trim piece here, and I'm going to relocate my battery somewhere in the boot here. So here's the plan. This is my positive terminal that's going to run all the way from my battery, which will be in the boot, and run all the way through into the car, up through the grommet, and then this part here is going to hook onto the starter motor. You can see down here, I just put my wire in and I've fed it through. I drilled a hole first and then I poked it through using this. I taped it up to the end and then just poke it through this little grommet here. Now I'm going to feed this all the way into the car. I think there's about 4 meters of this wire, and it's very thick. But yeah, I'll check in once I've got it through. So we have all the interior trim back in. Here is our power cord that'll go to the thing, the positive terminal, and then this is our negative one that'll hook onto that strut bar there. And I need to shorten it up to make it fit right here. The driver sits on the right hand side here, and the engine is in the front, so it'll somewhat distribute some weight a little bit to the back left corner, which is where it's needed. I couldn't believe how much dust and dirt and Japanese receipts and Japanese stickers and everything was bloody hiding underneath these seats as well. So I vacuumed all that out. Next job is to vacuum up these rear seats and get them back in. So the rear seats are in, and our positive terminal for the battery relocation kit has been mounted, so we can now work on getting kind of this dash fully buttoned up really. Let's get into it. So guys, would you look at that? Majority of the interior is back together. I haven't figured out where these wires go just yet, and these wires here are for the radio. Anyway, moving forward, this short shifter arrived in the mail, so I'm gonna swap that out now. As you can see, it's considerably shorter, so I'll get that swapped out. However, I know I've said it a million times in this video probably, but I'm waiting on this flywheel. So I ordered a flywheel online, and it was pretty expensive, and they said it would ship to me within 2 to 3 days. I've been waiting around. It's been about 4 days since I bought it, and I got an email from them today saying that they don't have it in stock, and if I wanted it, it'll be another 10 days away, which I think is really slack. But I'm really sick of not having a car, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this stock flywheel back in the car, reassemble the clutch, the flywheel, put the tranny back in, and all that sort of stuff, but then also get the flywheel and probably install the flywheel further down the track if I ever need to pull the transmission again. Yeah, I'm pretty bummed about it, but what can you do? So what that essentially means is that there was no reason for me to pull this transmission out in the first place. Oh well, there was already no reason, but I was going to be swapping over the flywheel. But now that I'm keeping the same stock flywheel, this has all just been a huge waste of time for me, which is a bummer, but you live and you learn. So yeah, let's get that short shifter installed and then the clutch in. Okay, so we got the short shifter in there. Now I did notice that it is basically the same length as the stock shifter, but it is a lot heavier, probably twice the weight of this, which is should make shifting feel a lot nicer. So now it's time to move on to the clutch, and the first things first, we're gonna brake clean the flywheel and the clutch and the pressure plate. So we've got the flywheel on there, and we've got a bit of Loctite on each port, and then now it's time to torque them down. So the clutch, flywheel and pressure plate has been installed. Now it's time to restart this thing in the car. So we got the trans in there all bolted up. Before I plug everything back in, I just got my clutch cable back in. And as you can see, before, whereas we had all this play in it, I've got it adjusted right up to the top there. So I've tightened this all the way down. And as we come into the car, you can see that when I put my foot on the clutch, she comes right back. That also tells me that I've put the clutch in right, which I'm absolutely stoked on. So yeah, let's get the rest of this trans bolted in. That makes me so happy. It is also kind of crazy to think that we had this completely right. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it, and we just dropped this tranny and took apart the clutch and flywheel and everything for literally no reason. But anyway, you live and you learn. Let's get on with it. Okay, so we've got it all back together, and we also have got the battery in the rear boot there all connected up. So if you saw the last video, you watched me start up this engine, and you might notice every time we start it up, it revs up to about 5,000 RPM and then stays there, so it doesn't come down, which tells me that there's a huge vacuum leak. So I just came over to the intake manifold here, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a hole there, and there is meant to be a 90-degree metal thing that comes up and clicks into here. So there's a huge intake manifold vacuum leak there, which is more than enough to make it rev up that high. So I'm going to try block that off now and then see if it starts. So would you look at that, if we come over to the donor car over here, here is my intake manifold thing. So yeah, let's go check this in now. So what I did is I put it in here and connected it all up, and I'm pretty confident that that was what would cause it to rev up so high on the startup. So I've just filled the gearbox up with oil, and I've put some coolant in, and now it's time to see if we can start this thing. So it'll also be a good test to see if all the lights on the dash work. Now remember, we have not much gas, so that's what you hear, the fuel pump priming. Come on. Hey! Yeah, boy! Yes. So it's idling like that because it doesn't have gas, and I haven't got the accelerator cable hooked up, so I'll do that now. But I'm so happy about that. Let's go! Come on! Alrighty, so the next step is we got to get these axles back in, and overall just start buttoning things up. I think this car will drive, and the plan is to take it for its first test drive tonight. So as you come to the inside, you see we've got my steering wheel somewhat in here with the quick release hub, which is pretty cool. So I'll show you how that works, just like that. I got most of the center interior in as well. Here we have my little shift knob. Oh, so I'll screw that onto my little short shifter there. Looking good. So here's the shifts in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That feels amazing with that shifter in there. And as you can see, there's a bit of play, but nowhere near as much as what it was. That feels bloody good. We also have a fully functional clutch pedal down there. I need to figure out the throttle, so let's go do that now. I've got the throttle cable set up there. I'll probably most likely need to adjust that according to how high or low the idle is. I've also got my MSD ignition cap mounted in there. I still need to go over all my wiring and insulate stuff and take off the masking tape and all that sort of stuff, but I just want to know that this setup works. Both axles in, all the suspension back together. I'm just going to put some gas in it now and get it fired up and get it idling. I also don't have an exhaust, so it's just basically an open header with 2 cats. So yeah, let's see how this goes. I'm going to chuck some petrol on it now and start her up. Jesus. Yes guys, we've got it running. Yeah, boy! Let's go! Nothing's binding. Everything looks good. On the inside here, the idle is pretty good. It's just warming up quite nicely. Oh god, this is so good. We have no codes on the ECU. I'm so happy. Let's hook up that throttle cable now, because that was what was making it rev up so high. So let's try that again. So this is another test. Got the throttle cable hooked up. Yeah, I'm absolutely super pumped that it just starts up and it idles. It feels like this car is getting really close, guys. So yeah. The car starts and runs, but there is a pretty decent sized leak coming out of there, and it's creating a pool of coolant or water underneath my car. So the leak is coming from a pipe underneath this intake manifold. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this intake manifold off, so I can just see what's happening under there. Yeah, you can see it's coming from the pipe under there, the clamp. So yeah, let's take this intake manifold off and see what's happening. So we have the intake off, and this is the culprit down here. This hose here is just leaking onto my hand. Okay, so we have 2 clamps on here, and I'm pretty certain that this is not going to leak. I did these clamps up pretty tight. So now with that clamp tightened up, let's get this intake and fuel rail back together. Alright, so we got it all buttoned up. Now I'm going to try to start it again. So I had it running for a couple of minutes, and would you look at that? No leak. Yeah, I'm bloody happy about that. Now I'm gonna go through and tidy up all the wiring because I know it all works. That means taking off my masking tape like I've already started to do, and tucking the wires, and overall just cleaning up the spay. So yeah, let's get on to that.